You're listening to Creativity Unconfined. Stay tuned to learn about how the arts unlock the doors for those who are imprisoned.
Greetings. I am, as ever, Dave Gussack, the director for the Florida State University Institute for the Arts and Art Therapy with the Imprisoned. And on today's episode of Creativity Unconfined, we have a remarkable guest. Today, we are going to be speaking with a colleague and friend of mine. I feel like I can call him that. We've been working closely together for about past 4 or 5 years, is Antonio Espinoza. Antonio is the founder and executive director of Art from the Inside. This organization creates opportunities for incarcerated artists to have a visual voice through engaging, community-centered exhibitions of their art. After serving himself for almost 20 years as a senior corrections officer at Stillwater State Prison in Minnesota, Antonio launched this project to bring hope and healing inside the walls. His story is remarkable, how he went from his own experiences as a correctional officer to see the value of what is necessary inside is just remarkable. So we'll definitely be hearing about that from Antonio today. In 2021, Antonio received a Bush Fellowship for his transformative work, elevating the voices of the incarcerated through community-centered exhibitions of their work. In 2022, he became a policy fellow in the Humphrey School of Public Affairs and created a bill for supporting arts programming in Minnesota state prisons, which was signed into law during the 2023 legislative session. That's right, it is a law in Minnesota that supports the Arts and Corrections program. He is driven to build towards a larger transformation in the justice system and in the community. I can't tell you how excited I am to have our friend Antonio here. So I'm bringing him to the stage. Antonio, welcome. It is a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Dr. Gusak, for inviting me to your conversation.
When I was thinking about the stories that I wanted to get out there about the value of what it is that we do with the arts inside, you were on the top of my list. I think your story, when I first heard your story about what got you involved in the arts and corrections, really, basically that's why I'm all in with you. And I'm fascinated by your story. I've had you come and speak to my class several times about your work in developing this program, but now let's see if we get this message out to thousands of people. So tell us about the journey. How did you find yourself here working on providing this type of programming for those that are incarcerated inside the very prison that you served as a correctional officer?
As you stated on my bio, I worked for the Department of Corrections for 20 years. And throughout that time, I really got to engage with incarcerated folks, having conversations with them and everything else, trying to understand people, doing relationship building, which is so important to do when you're a correctional officer, having a relationship with these folks. And so in 2018, my coworker friend of 16 years was murdered by the hands of an incarcerated person at the facility. And when that happened, there was a lot of turmoil going on, and I was trying to figure out how can I stopped and I started to understand why I was there. Why was I working in this space? And how can I try to bring a different light, right? So when Joseph Gum was murdered, they removed all of the different opportunities for these individuals throughout the institution. So he was murdered in the industry area of the facility. And then so they got rid of all the job opportunities and learning opportunities for folks to learn about wood shop and furniture making and computer for schools and all different kind of stuff that they had in the industry part. And now they were stuck inside the cells. And so throughout my time working in the units, I've seen folks creating art. And so I was like, I had a conversation with the commissioner and told them that it was possible to incorporate their artwork and sell their work and try to find uncomfortable conversations about where this work is coming from and try to find the support that the department needs through the community on the outside and educate the community also about incarceration in the inside. So there's more to it. It's just so much more to it.
Sure.
But, that's basically it.
Well, we have time. There's such a depth to that. Essentially, your colleague, your partner inside, gets murdered, many people, many staff, and understandably so, would have thought that perhaps those that are incarcerated that did this deserve to be punished. You went the other way. You saw this as, the reason this happened is because there's a lack of this programming. Is that accurate?
Yeah, you see, for the actions of one person, everyone got the punishment. And so, I mean, like, I see them as individuals that are in recovery. Everyone is in their own level of recovery.
Yeah.
And I saw them as human beings. And I just thought that it was unfair that a lot of the things that was happening with removal of different opportunities for them was a little drastic, because the department and the union wasn't at same level of to come to some sort of conclusion as in how to continue moving forward after this tragedy that happened. And so it is a lot of people left the job, a lot of people retired, but I was really desperate trying to figure out what I could do to try to bring some sort of light in that space where we were being verbally attacked by these individuals and physically attacked. What could I do to try to bring how to bring peace, or how to bridge the gap between them and us, that stigma that we have that is called them and us.
It's such a remarkable story. So when you started developing this notion of bringing these types of programs back inside, the arts-based programs back inside, how was that received by the institutions? How was it received by your colleagues inside? How was it received by family members outside?
When it came down to the people I worked with, my coworkers, I was really basically ousted out. I wasn't part of the group anymore, because I saw them as people and not criminals. And when it comes down to the public was enthusiastic in knowing more about where the artwork was coming from, and how the department helped these individuals through having art exhibited out in the world. So there was a lot of different movements. The community wanting to know more and getting educated. My coworkers not understanding that we need to bridge the gap and not open it up more. And I found that the art was that vehicle for this uncomfortable conversation, for creating this bridge, right? And giving these individuals an opportunity to understand that they have the opportunity of change, and I got to understand more about what the art was doing for them while they were incarcerated in their cells, and how they felt when they were doing art. And so I just continued to move forward with that theme. And basically the whole entire thing was, for me, was to do something positive because of my friend's sacrifice.
Yeah.
From his sacrifice, his life being taken, I wanted something new to come out of it, something pure, something good to come out of that action that happened in 2018. And I've been doing that ever since 2018. I've been working on that.
At the risk of sounding like the therapist that I am, how do you think your friend would respond to the work that you're doing now, with the impetus, the drive, because of what he went through? What happened to him? That's the impetus for what happened. How do you think he would respond to that?
I think that he would be proud of me. I think that he would want for me to continue to do that, so that there's not another tragedy like what happened to him, to another employee at the facilities. I think that, just giving him honor, because whenever I do an exhibit, whenever I do anything, his pictures is there. You know what I'm saying? And I talk about him first, because if it wasn't for him not not being murdered or being murdered, I wouldn't be doing this, and we would have never met, and I wouldn't be doing anything, in this realm. I would have retired, went playing golf, and forgot and forgot about corrections.
Yeah. Are you any good at golf?
No, I just wear the shirt.
Okay, I suspected. I didn't want to say. So I mean, you started this in 2018. Then, of course, this little thing happened in 2020, in March of 2020, when the entire world shuts down, and we were in the prisons as well ourselves, and we know what over isolation looks like, particularly during the COVID epidemic, the pandemic. Sorry, which caused that much more difficulty for those that are incarcerated. What were you still involved with doing this work during the pandemic, or how did that transform?
Yes, I was definitely still involved with that. That's when, in 2020, is when I actually started exhibiting the artwork out in the public.
Wow.
And right in the beginning of the pandemic, and we were wearing masks and having
Hand sanitizer.
it's hand sanitizers, exactly. And that's when I started doing the exhibits. My first exhibit was called Numbers, because that's how we were able to identify these individuals by their numbers. Give me your numbers. They'll give me the numbers. I'll go to the computer and I'll pop it up, and then I'll have their whole story. Everything that has to do with them is there. And so Numbers was what the theme was for the exhibit, and it was an amazing display of art and a display of narratives of how their work it affects all of us.
One of the things that I love to kind of to focus on is this notion that, of course, those that are inside, their identity is taken away, and they're given nothing but numbers in the same uniform, and that's how they're labeled throughout their time, and of course, it's a label that sticks with them. So you're essentially a play on that, which is we're going to focus on the fact that they're numbers, but their art piece. The art piece that they create is very individualistic. It very much creates their personality. It gives them an identity when the numbers are trying to take it away.
Exactly. Folks have spoken to me and told me that whenever they're upset or they have something that's challenging, they put it on paper. They put all that anger or they put that focus on the paper, and then they let it go. So by them telling me that, I started to understand that art was a tool that they used for for relaxation, to get these feelings out. Instead of doing it physically, they'll put it on paper, and that's where it stood at. Yeah.
That's just remarkable. Now, I've also had the pleasure, and I'm sorry that she can't join us today, but that gives us permission now to talk about her as if she's not here, because she's not. Your wife, Jessica, is very much engaged in this and very much a part of this. So this is almost becoming a family affair. And to call it, I mean, this grassroots effort that started with you, now it's you and Jessica. How did that evolve? How did you bring Jessica onto this, and how's that trajectory worked?
She was influenced by the work that I was doing. She saw the value of what I was doing, and she supported the work that I still do. Yes, she still works with me. She likes staying in the backdrop, but she's definitely a key player in what we do.
Yeah.
And I don't have all the tools. I'm not the most brightest person. I mean, in order to have a nonprofit, you have to have so many different people that could do so many different things. And so she has really, put her time into, grant writing and getting some money onto the table so we could continue to do this work. So I'm definitely proud of how she has helped and how she is helping in the backdrop of all this stuff. And actually, she went to the prison, to two prisons last year for graduation, and she got to see the artists. She got to meet with them, shake their hands. She got to really feel the feeling of walking into an institution and seeing the artists inside and feeling that. It's different when you're outside and can read someone's narrative with their artwork. but when you go inside and you actually see the person and you hear them, it's more gratifying.
Wow. And then I think you and I connected, I want to say 2021.
Yes.
And I think, if I recall, you had gotten my name from an art therapist, from what I understand, who's up there in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and Liz Bechtel.
Yes.
And how did you bring on? Because I think this is important. As you know, my institute is called the Arts and Art Therapy with the Imprisoned, and to me, the arts and art therapy work hand in hand; they're glove in hand. Tell me about that dynamic. You brought an art therapist on board. How did that emerge?
Well, like Liz Bethel, she is an amazing person.
Yes.
She works with her clients, and they use art through their therapy, how they communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was doing an exhibit once, and I got a phone call, and she introduced herself to me, and she wanted to know more about how we could collaborate. And at that time, I wasn't a uniform person. I was retired, and I was on the outside.
Okay.
And so we got to meet, and I got to understand more that the work that I do needs to upgrade a little bit more. I need to have a therapist, someone that knows about therapy, and someone that knows about art. I don't know any of that stuff. My heart is there for the people who actually need the help.
Yeah.
I'm just that bridge maker. And so I'm a visionary. And so when I have a vision about doing something, that's when I start, utilizing different people's skills and putting it together, and I get it going. But Liz, she still works for the Department of Corrections. She's an amazing person. We actually were able to go to Faribault and do a cohort of 20 men at Faribault with their artwork, which is being exhibited right now at a church in Minneapolis right now called the Westminster Presbyterian Church.
Oh my goodness.
And the theme for that one is called "If Your Heart Could Speak, What Would It Say?"
Wow.
And so, if you was to go to artfromtheinside.mn.org, you will get to see the artwork and see and read their narratives. It's amazing how people could come together and create and be in community. That's what I want. I want people to be in community. I want people to be happy. I want people to be seen, to be heard. When you're incarcerated, you're not being seen or you're not being heard. And that's what I believe that creates these behaviors that, that it's behaviors that bring out the worst out of you. Mm-hmm. If you have an opportunity to be in a circle and have a conversation, you'll get to understand that what you're going through, you're not the only one that's going through these different difficult things that many other people are. And how can we collectively, try to find ways to fix those situations, right? And maybe it might be a little different if we have a way of knowing how to do that instead of doing it through physical.
Oh, that's just amazing. And since, it's then the next time that we spoke, around that time, you were in the process of getting legislative change. You had some appointments. You somehow got the Attorney General to come in and sign off on all of this. I'm fascinated by this process. To go from a person who saw the value of art inside to turn this into a state-funded program, I think this was great information for a lot of us out there that are still trying to, reconcile our relationships with the various institutions we're working with. Tell me a little bit about that, how that developed, how that worked, how you were able to basically get them on board.
So, through my journey of leadership, I was given a Bush Fellowship here in Minnesota, which gave me an opportunity to learn more about my skills as a leader, as a person in leadership. And with becoming a Bush Fellow, then I became a Humphrey Policy Fellow, which I learned about policy, which gave me an opportunity to walk into those spaces where legislators are, and lieutenant governors and AGs and all these people who run the state, and was able to have conversations with the Attorney General, Keith Ellison, who called me and asked for artwork. If it's possible to get some artwork from, incarcerated folks into his office, and I was able to get 65 pieces of artwork into
Oh my God.
65, not in his office only, but throughout his, throughout the whole office area.
Really?
And it was up there for about a whole year. And then that was when legislation was on, and I was able to get legislators to come into his office and see the work, and I was able to engage with these people to understand more about, the need of what we need more art and art therapy in all of our state institutions, not just two, but in all 11 state institutions. I believe that we have to invest in people to see better results on how people are recovering, and how people are getting their transformation through art and through dance and through poetry and through culinary, food, all kinds of different arts for people to utilize these passions that people have. But
Yeah.
since they're incarcerated, and people look at them like they don't deserve anything, how do you expect people to change and feel better about themselves if they're not utilizing their God-given talent, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's such a potent piece. This notion of we as a society hold people at arm's length to keep them separate because it's easy for us it's easier for us to forget about them, when truly the people that are incarcerated do hold a mirror up to our society, and how we treat them is how we treat each other. Here
Not
you are.
not only that, but 95% of the time, folks who are incarcerated come back into our society.
Right.
And if we are not being intentional in trying to get healing and transformation through the powers of whatever, giving them the opportunities to find out who they are and forgive themselves for the things that they've done, and the community and everything else, that bitterness is going to still stay within yourself. So you want to release all of that and discover who you truly are again, so that you could come back out into society. And not only that, coming back out into society, but we have to have those resources and have those things in place for people to grow when they come back out, when we re-enter in society. Not closing the doors again and not giving them jobs and housing and all the different things that they need to, just like how how I need, to survive. They need it too. But because of that stigma of them being a convict, it's just people don't want to give them an opportunity.
Oof. I mean, it's very powerful, and I was lucky enough to be brought out. Was it last year or the year before?
2 years.
2 years ago, 2024. That's right, in March, and for your art show there, and to speak first, to present to an audience, and then to be on a panel with people that were formerly incarcerated to talk about their experiences and to hear their voices. Tell me about the dynamics of what that's like now that you're outside, to see and hear from those that benefited from this. And as a caveat, one of the episodes that we've just recorded that we'll have coming out later was with Christopher Faustos Cabrera, who is somebody who was incarcerated at Stillwater. Tell me what that's like for you to see this and to hear from them, and how do they respond to you?
We work together. He's on my team. We collaborated. I have people come out and be on panels to talk about how art saved them through their incarceration, and how it made them feel when they were doing it, and how they feel now that they're back in community. And one of the things that a lot of the things I've heard before was that, once you're a criminal, you're always a criminal. Yeah. And I don't think so. I think that, we have to be more
good,
giving and loving, and giving people opportunities to re-enter and be the people that we want them to be, by giving them those opportunities. And when I see these folks out in the world now, it's a hug. You know what I'm saying? It's a hug. It's a happiness. It's, I wasn't a bad guy in there. I really wasn't. There was some people who, might not be able to do that. But when I would see someone and I would greet them, I would give them a hug and tell them about what I'm doing, if they, how they're doing, if they're working, giving them resources for them to find a job. So within my being a nonprofit, we like to collaborate with other nonprofits when it comes down to housing, jobs, all the different kind of resources that folks who are re-entering our society need if they didn't get those resources while they were inside the prison system, just so that they could find their way back into society.
Trust is oftentimes a difficult commodity to come by inside, and it has to be earned a great deal. Have you had situations where you've had to basically, how do I say this? It's not a yes/no question, but I'm trying to imagine still that there's a tendency that you still need to kind of prove yourself and that you have to kind of earn that trust. That's sometimes an uphill battle, no?
Yeah, I'm a person of my word. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And like trust is in prison. No one trusts no one.
Sure.
Trust is very hard to get. So every time I engage with these individuals inside, and I thank them for trusting me with their artwork. I thank them for giving me the opportunity to expose their work and their words to society. And in the beginning, they were skeptical about it. A guard doing this. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
What you in for? What's your end? And my thing is just trying to find peace. My thing is just trying to influence change in the system, the way how the system has been working throughout these decades. We need to change the way how we work with people who are incarcerated. A lot of people don't need to be incarcerated. There's other ways of doing incarceration or rehabilitation, I want to call it, and not being locked up in a cell. Now, there are people who are really dangerous and need to be put in a place where, giving them time to to heal.
Sure.
But there's so many people who just need that opportunity to come back out into society and be given another chance.
Wonderful. Well, this wouldn't be a podcast about Arts Inside if there wasn't some artwork to take a look at. And you were kind enough to send us some art pieces. And I'm just going to choose a couple just to bring up on the screen here to give a sense of what the impetus was behind it. What was your thoughts when you saw it? And remember that there are people that are traveling up 95. People are driving on 95 into Minnesota. So they're listening to this on their car. So if you can describe the piece that I'm going to show and then give us a little story behind it. Here's one of the pieces here.
Well, I can't remember the actual name of the artist for this piece, but okay. It's through the theme that we're going through right now. It's called "If Your Heart Could Speak, What Would It Say?" Spoken Heart, yeah. And it's coming from a African American woman, and she's using her fingers to make the shape of a heart, and she incorporated her daughter in the middle, and it's a 3D piece because it's two pieces.
Oh.
And yeah, so she was really creative in doing that. And she's really putting her heart into it. She's focusing on her daughter. She's focusing on coming back home one day and being with her family. I'm not too sure of her situation as in being released or whatever right now because it's not in front of me. But it's one of our featured pieces at the exhibit right now.
So walk me through that process. You're not inside this facility. How do you receive this artwork? How do they apply to be included in these shows? Who is your conduit to get this piece into the show?
So, okay. I have to have permission from the commissioner in order to do this, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I had a curriculum to give them so they could see the curriculum. And the art supplies is provided by us, which we purchase all the art supplies, send it in, and they go through the art supplies. Mm-hmm. Then I would go into the facility and put up flyers in the facility in common areas for people to see that there's going to be we're asking for participants to be a part of this fellowship, that we call it fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
And then so we get these kites, a bunch of kites, people with interest in being a part of this. Due to the lack of space within the facility, it's no more than 20 people could be part of this 3 months course that we were doing. And so we did this for 3 different institutions. We did 2 male and 1 female, and the artwork was retrieved at the end of the course. I retrieved 1 piece of artwork with their narratives and all their information, and we were given permission to take the artwork, and we'd frame it and get it all hooked up and put it on the website and find a space to put it up, and then just have an exhibit. I've just been fortunate that the places that I have been exhibiting artwork is in public spaces where a lot of the folks are coming in and looking at the work and are really interested in the work and wanting to know more about what they could do to try to help people in the system. The whole purpose of all of this is just trying to create this bridge where the community. Well, okay, so then one of the other things too that I do is I have the community leave a message to the artists, and that message goes back inside the system, and they get to read what someone says about their artwork.
Wow. Okay.
And when we have the artwork out, then we have logbooks where people could actually read their narratives and see everybody else's. This is something like this.
Okay.
Yeah. So we would have.
Wow. Do the family members of these artists get to come to the show? And
Yes, there is encouraged for family members to come, public to come, legislators to come, people from the Department of Corrections, everybody. Not only having the work on the wall, but we are intentional in having conversations and in reference to the work that's being done. So it's just not going to a space and looking at artwork. We normally like to have sessions where we have, like this last 2 weeks ago, we had some spoken word people come in and do their poetry, and we did community singing. So we had the community singing among the artwork.
that's amazing. I have to admit, I was following that on Instagram, so I was seeing all those advertisements about those gigs that were coming up. That was remarkable.
I try to be different with everything that we do, so that it's interesting. I like having paint sessions. So our next thing is going to be painting with coffee. So we're going to have the public come in, and we're going to have some coffee grounds and with water and brushes and everything else, and they're going to paint with that on the canvas. And we have artists who, that's what they use. They use coffee, they use vegetables, they mash it up, and they use the dye, and they create a piece of artwork, or they'll use their bed sheets as a canvas, cardboard, whatever they could, use.
We also have we have about 8 to 10 minutes left. We have a slide deck or slideshow. So let's take a look at some of these things. So these are some of the images that are in the catalogs with their statements.
Yes,
of
and
their work.
this particular piece is one of my favorite ones. His name is Roberto Lopez Rios, and he was incarcerated at the age of 16. Did 23 years imprisonment because he was undocumented. They sent him back to Mexico, and so we went to see him in Mexico last year, and he drew this piece, and I brought it back from Mexico. He's our international artist, and so right now we are exhibiting this art piece at the current exhibit right now.
And for those who are driving on I-95 through Minnesota, can you read the statement that's next to this? Is a beautiful representation of a fantastic bird that's flying with bright green and blue plumage. The emblematic tow bird symbolizes my new beginning in a foreign land. Just as the toe leaves its cavernous sinkhole home to explore the wide jungle, I left the cavernous walls of a 6x9 cell. I am shedding the heartless value system imposed on me and moving into a new, lighter existence. Although the toe is flying free, the weight of its past is ever present. It's remarkable. Let's see what I'm just now fascinated by these slides. Let's take a look at the next one. Oof. This is an amazing image of a close up where all you see is the person's bottom of their nose and their wide open mouth yelling the word help. And the help is, of course, in very bright red with a black background. And the artist, Mad as Scribbler, wrote, "Art for me is freedom and has been nothing but the best way for me to express myself without words." These are such powerful messages, and the art is so different from each other. Um, I'm just going to go to the next one just because I'm selfish here. Tell me about this one. This is from Koa Her.
Yeah, she's a Hmong lady over at Shakopee facility, and she, I believe, she expressed herself about this piece. It's the flowers that are on the ground are turning into butterflies, which she was wishing that it was part of her moving out of that system. We had a few conversations, myself and her, and she's a wonderful lady. She's a lifer. She's not coming out of prison. And this is a one way for her to feel like she's a part of our society by doing this. So I was happy to retrieve her work and exhibit her work. And she had some family members that came 2 weeks ago to see her artwork.
The last sentence of her statement is, "This is the story of healing, surrender, and the beauty of becoming." What a great statement. Next one.
Yes.
Oof. We'll make this the last one because I want to talk a little bit about how people can access this. But describe this piece for me, please.
This is a piece of a gentleman a person, it seems like a man of color, who has his uniform on with his badge on his shirt. And his face is disfigured, but he's holding two pieces of masks. And, one moment he puts one mask and he's one person, and then the next moment he will have to change and put another mask on his face to be who he is while he's incarcerated.
The statement says, artist Anthony Papa said it best. Quote, "I painted myself out of a prison cell," end quote. Even though he meant it literally, it works the same figuratively. Doing anything about art is one of my escape hatches. It gives me mental freedom. I think these are remarkable statements and remarkable reflections of people who otherwise we don't hear from. They're locked behind the gates, they're locked behind the doors, and this notion of the art becoming the manner of freedom is just amazing. The slide deck has many other images, but I just so that we can let the audience know, because I'm hoping that this goes out far and wide, they can have access to these images and these statements on your website?
Yes. If you used to go to artfromtheinside.mn.org, you'll go to the website, and then you'll get to see numerous different artworks, different exhibitions that we have done in the past, videos that we've done, photographs of different places where we've taken photos of the artists and different things that they were doing. So, it's so intentional for me to make sure that I do things and it has pictures and it has film, because these folks can't see what people are saying about their work. And I intend to bring that back into the system so they could actually see it through their channels on TV.
That's artfromtheinsidemn.org. And
Yeah.
we'll put that in the description as well so people can access it, because it's an amazing site. My last question is just to get a sense of, and I'm asking this because it seems that this is growing bigger and bigger, and there's a few of you doing a lot of work, which seems to be the norm for these types of projects and these types of work that we do. But ultimately, what's next? And then where do you see things 5 years from now?
What's next? We're working on, I like the the picture with the masks,
Yeah.
because we're working with this professor from New Jersey. He has a nonprofit, and it's called Ritual for Return. And it requires to wear a mask, the mask of shame, and then you would have participants who have been incarcerated to be a part of this cohort, trying to show people. Okay, so there's a ritual when you get arrested, right? There's a ritual to go through the system, but there's not a ritual for when you return back into society.
Right.
So it's like, here's whatever money you have, here's your clothes, and go to your halfway house or go whatever you're going to do, right? Mm-hmm. And there's not a ritual for return to receive people back into our society. And so what we're going to do is like a skit, but it's a ceremony. And everyone's going to do their own either poetry, movement, body. It's going to be a way of showing, doing an art form of some sort through this process. And you're going to do it with this mask. And then at the end of your ceremony, you're going to remove the mask and you're going to reveal your true identity, wow, who you are today, to your family members, to the community, to whoever is going to be there. Wow.
When is this scheduled for?
We just got some money, so we are getting ready to get this going. So we would like to do this by the ending of the year, and I will definitely let you know about it. Of course, it's going to be recorded, so this is I'm really excited about this one because
it's amazing.
It's more it's people who are on the outside, and it's people giving them an opportunity to reveal who they really are today, not the person that was in prison, but who they've become through that process and who they are today, to their family members, to the society, to themselves.
That's oof. What a powerful project. What a powerful image. I can't wait to see that.
And I definitely want to also have a space for people to come out and do actual work and do the exhibits and have wraparound services. I mean, like, I'm trying to get lucky, find somebody who could help fund Art from the Inside and have an artist loft for people when they come out of prison, and they could have a place to live and a place to work and a place to create, and a safe place for them to be.
I say we put that out there, and let's wait to see if anyone who's listening to this is that person who can certainly support this, and whether we can get 1,000 people supporting it in little ways or one person supporting it in a huge way. Let's get some people out there to really support what you're doing. This has been a remarkable conversation, Antonio. It's been a pleasure having you on this episode of Creativity Unconfined. This is Antonio Espinoza, former correctional officer and now director for the Arts from the Inside Minnesota, and just plain a visionary. Thank you very much for everything that you do, Antonio, and I'm looking forward to ongoing work with you.
Thank you for having me on your show. Thank you so much.
Creativity Unconfined has been brought to you by Florida State University's Institute for Arts and Art Therapy with the Imprisoned. Special thanks to our producers Sydney Nichols and Malia Burrows, as well as Florida State University's College of Fine Arts. If you like what you heard, and even if you didn't, please support us by liking and subscribing.